Over the course of the last few years, I have been able to make some insane, drastic transformations to my life and my identity. And it all came down to my ability to understand the spiritual and inner work it requires in order to upgrade our inner operating system and our inner identity so we can start being the person that can attract new experiences, opportunities, people, success, and abundance into our everyday life. So over the course of this video, I'm gonna break down 3 simple principles I had to learn the hard way through my own identity evolution, through my own identity transformation. And I'm gonna distill it into simple tools that you can implement starting now to see the change that you wanna see. Now we're gonna be calling upon information from Joe Dispenza, quantum physics, spirituality, consciousness, everything across the board, because the better you can understand yourself, the better you can start implementing tools to extract your true potential. Now, before we get into the 3 principles that you need to master by the end of this video, I need to break down the one evil villain in this story. And it's the one outdated mindset and outdated paradigm of reality that's gonna prevent you from stepping into this version of yourself you want to experience. Now, this anti-hero of this story, or let's just say straight up villain, is manifestation, right? I know I have it in the title of this video, but I need to tell you how manifestation and your concept of it needs to evolve, because it's not as simple as just snapping your fingers, doing a few affirmations, doing a few visualizations, and then hoping for things to change. That is why things are not changing for you, because manifestation keeps you trapped in an outdated subconscious program of lack. Because think about what manifestation is on a fundamental level. Manifestation on a fundamental level is you signaling to the universe energetically that you are in a state of scarcity. You're saying, hey, I am not good with my life as it is, so I need these things to change in order to feel whole, in order to feel abundant, in order to feel joy, in order to feel everything that I've wanted to experience this entire time, right? So you need to understand that the concept of manifestation is not your ability to attract something that you're missing. Manifestation is actually the act of being a version of yourself that is on the same playing field in the form of thoughts, emotions, actions, and behaviors that is equivalent to you creating a certain experience, but it's because you've done the inner work. You've changed who you are being on this inside world. And because you have changed who you are being on this inside world and the things you identify with and the old subconscious beliefs that you've had to eradicate, kill, and throw out the window, just like that manifestation belief system, you can start upgrading your operating system to see the transformation that you truly want to see. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to take a quick moment, because if you want to actually master these principles in everyday life, I'm hosting a live workshop that is completely free this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you show up, we're gonna break down everything detachment, surrender, and letting go, so you can break free from these old, outdated identities. You can let go of your unconscious limiting beliefs, and you can finally step into the version of yourself that you've always wanted to be. I'm gonna do it by breaking down super simple 3 tools that you can use in everyday life to actually start living these teachings and not just consuming them in the form of books, podcasts, and YouTube videos. Now back to the video. So, now that you understand the concept of manifestation is likely the first place you're hitting a ceiling in your own life, because you're not able to implement these principles and you're like, well, I did the affirmations and I did the visualizations and I did the meditations and nothing is changing. I still feel emptiness. I still feel lack. I'm still working this dead end corporate job and things aren't changing for me. That's because you're allowing manifestation to be the subconscious thing that validates your inner sense of lack. So in order to evolve beyond this mindset, here are 3 things that you need to master. Now, the first thing that you're gonna need to master and understand is that your entire goal is identity transformation, because the things you identify with are the things that you accept as true in reality. Because on a fundamental level, we are an unconditioned consciousness, right? The easiest way and the most simple way I can break that down is in the form of I am statements, right? In the Bible, it says, I am that I am. That, in simple terms, is saying I am a state of being. And this state of being that is our default state is unprogrammed. It is not conditioned, right? So if you identify with beliefs like scarcity, lack, fear, you're upset with yourself because you smoke weed. You're upset with yourself because you come home from a stressful job and the first thing you go to is a bottle of wine. You're upset with yourself because you know you're only living up to 40% of your potential as a father and a man. You are saying, I am blank, right? Whatever emotion you are associating with on that subconscious level is the thing that's keeping you trapped in the state that you want to grow from. It's as simple as this, because think about it. I want you to do a little exercise with me. Go to the moments in time where you self-sabotage and you do the things that you do not want to do. For me, that was smoking weed. That was jumping straight to DoorDash. That was jumping straight to fast food, right? What's the issue with this? The issue with this is that because we identify with this negative emotion and we do not have the tools to sit with it, we are going to act on it, right? So we're going to act on the thoughts that are telling us like, hey, this is going to relieve this feeling. If you feel anxiety, if you feel inner pressure, and McDonald's or weed or alcohol is the thing that your mind goes to in the form of thoughts. This is what you identify with unconsciously, right? It's these feelings that you identify with and you're like, oh my God, maybe I am this person. Maybe I am this version that's only operating at 40% and self-sabotaging myself. So you try and run away from that. And because you try and run away from that, you are forever actually identifying with and giving your time, energy, attention, and focus to the things that you need to grow from, right? In simple terms, we need to learn how to disidentify with these emotions, right? We're going to talk about this in step 3, because in step 3, we're going to talk about the simple things that the greats talk about, right? Like how to enter the quantum field and manifest, or how to live from the end, or how to experience elevated emotions. This is what they're talking about. But the first step in order to do this is to realize that we need to change what we identify with. And in order to change what we identify with what's natural, with what's subconscious, what we've programmed ourselves to identify with, right? This can be emotions, this can be thoughts that we've just programmed into our body. Now, meditation is going to be the one way you break this invisible ceiling. Because think about the invisible ceiling. Think about the stories of the people who've won the lottery. These people end up winning the lottery. They have $70,000 in their bank account. They win $300 million, and then they immediately go back to $70,000. That's because they didn't do the identity work. They didn't upgrade their identity and the thing that they identify with, because they were forever that version that had $70,000 in the bank account, even though you had the external reality change, right? So this could be you, right? Because you identify with the version of yourself that eats like shit and is 40 pounds overweight. When you go on a health journey and you lose 20 pounds, you're going to fall back to whatever your default ceiling is. So this is why identity transformation is your main goal. Now, the second thing is realizing that this happens because we lack an inner sense of self-referral, right? The latter to this is object referral, right? This comes down to the principle in neuroscience and quantum physics and spirituality about, hey, life used to be a sense of cause and effect. And this cause and effect was us believing that the universe was mechanistic, right? It was, we give certain input and we get certain output, right? So we believe reality works in that way. But a quantum model of the universe is the idea that through our inner world and our thoughts and emotions, we are causing an effect, right? We are operating off a need to change things externally, which is the reason we are stuck in these old outdated paradigms, right? The lottery winner thought making $300 million would eventually be the thing that made them feel happy, made them feel free, made them feel joy, but they still identified with that unconscious belief system that they were only worth $70,000, which is why they fell back to that level of programming. So we need to upgrade our old identity, step 1, through transitioning out of a cause and effect mindset into a causing and effect mindset. And we are causing an effect through upgrading our inner world. We upgrade our inner world by focusing on the inner shift. And you do this through disidentifying with your thoughts and emotions. Because your thoughts and emotions are the things that are governing you, you need to free yourself from them. Because if you forever identify with the negative, outdated version of yourself, then you are stuck. So we need to upgrade the thing we identify with. Now, the goal and the grades are eventually telling you to disidentify and to free yourself of all attachment. But the goal right now is not to be some enlightened being. It's to give you some simple principles and tools to implement in your own everyday life. Which leads me to step 3. Surrender and letting go as a higher form of wholeness, right? This is what they talk about when they say, Joe Dispenza says, you need to meditate in the quantum field to experience the transformation that you are looking for. Because when you go beyond your identification with people, places, and things, you are freed of identification. So now you are in the unconditioned state of consciousness to make the changes that you need to make. And we do this through living from the end, right? We want to have elevated states of emotion. Now, how do we have these elevated states of emotion? We do this through letting go of negativity. This is Dr. David R. Hawkins' concept called letting go, the pathway to surrender. You need to surrender your old, outdated identities through meditation, through letting go, through detachment, to realize that until you can stop investing an emotional charge into the thoughts and identities and old versions of yourself, you'll forever be trapped by them. Because think about the things that send you into a spiral. It's a negative emotion. It's an inner tension. That is your enemy right now. So if you do not have a practice to breathe and sit and make peace with those things in the present moment, you're going to be unconsciously recreating the thing that you are running from. Now, in order to get into this state of wholeness, we need to realize some high-level spiritual truths that have been passed down through all time. in the map of consciousness, the highest level of energy is pure Tao, right? The Tao, this is Taoism, or it's pure consciousness. It is this unconditioned state of being. It is the great I am that they talk about in the Bible. It is unity consciousness. Now, if you're forever identifying with this version of yourself, and you're forever saying it's me versus the world, or I am a victim, or I am out of shape, or I need to grow and I need to evolve, you see how you're forever in a state of separation from reality? You're in a state of identification with the self, the egoic self. Now, this is why we need to meditate into the quantum field. This is Joe Dispenza's way of saying, hey, we need to free yourself from that identification and that narrative, and to put you in a state to where your consciousness and your emotions can calm down, your brain and heart can slow down, and you can just be in this present moment with no longer casting your own narrative or judgment upon it, and then you can finally free yourself. You can free yourself from the old identity. You can free yourself from the idea that the money, the Rolex, the Ferrari, and the house were going to be these external things in the world that you could eventually cause and affect your way out of into a state of joy, peace, and abundance. But because you said, you know what, maybe Grant's onto something here, and maybe the inner work is the key, and you chose the path of surrender and letting go as your highest form of expression and the thing that you do every day, you've shifted your inner world. And because you've shifted your inner world, you're going to no longer identify with the negative emotions, because the breath work and the meditation is going to repattern your mind. This is why they say, do not be conformed by this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind in the Bible. Because the more time you focus on higher, more rhythmic, more harmonious states of mind, the more your body and heart is going to repattern that, and you're going to experience that energy in everyday life. So the lens that you wear, your level of perception, your level of awareness, is going to change in everyday life. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to take a quick moment, because if you want to actually master these principles in everyday life, I'm hosting a live workshop that is completely free this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you show up, we're going to break down everything detachment, surrender, and letting go, so you can break free from these old, outdated identities. You can let go of your unconscious limiting beliefs, and you can finally step into the version of yourself that you've always wanted to be. I'm going to do it by breaking down super simple 3 tools that you can use in everyday life to actually start living these teachings and not just consuming them in the form of books, podcasts, and YouTube videos. Now back to the video. So you're going to be freed from the old, outdated identification that we were trying to run from. In the first point, you're going to no longer need your external world to shift, because you've shifted your inner world. So by default, your external world has started to shift, and you're going to have restored the state of wholeness, peace, joy, and abundance within yourself to truly be operating at your highest potential. Now, ladies and gentlemen, once again, like I mentioned earlier in the video, manifestation is your enemy here. You need to do the inner work. You need to free yourself from the old, outdated identities that you need to be anyone other than who you are, somewhere else, with someone else, doing something else to find peace, joy, and abundance in this moment. Because when you free yourself from those attachments and you free yourself from those unconscious beliefs, your default state is going to be peace and wholeness. So if you want to actually learn how to master these teachings and dive deeper into the everyday practice you can use to start to experience these higher level states and transform your reality, remember, go check out the first link in the description, because I'm doing a workshop this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be all about detachment and letting go. So how you can let go of this old, outdated identity, these old, outdated subconscious beliefs, and you can finally set yourself free and begin walking the path that you want to walk in everyday life. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I got nothing but love and peace for you, and I'll see you in the next one. We out.